Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Apologies ahead of time if my voice sounds a little off. It's because it's been a little sore on the more benevolent side for the last couple days. It's like my body wants to get sick, but otherwise hasn't crossed over to that point, so I sound worse than I feel. Also, just a quick heads up, I'm going off script for this one. Didn't have time to write one, work and life got in the way, so let's see what kind of train wreck this becomes. Gonna keep this intro just a little bit short. It's another WAG feature, it stars Batman, it's not part of the Tomorrowverse, it's its own thing, but I was looking forward to it, because I'm just looking forward to anything made by WAG these days. So, let's get started. This is my honest opinion of Batman, the Doom that came to Gotham. Set in the 1920s, globe-trotting adventurer Bruce Wayne, reprised by David Guntoli, has been tracking down the famed Oswald Cobblepot and his missing expedition, only to find his men dead, him insane and missing, and the only other survivor, Grendon, voiced by David Dastmalchian, who has also gone insane after seeing Cthulhu. Bruce also sees visions of it, and knows that the threat is coming to Gotham City. After a long absence, Bruce returns to the city to figure out what is going on as he learns that other supernatural forces are at play who want to bring Cthulhu back themselves. Despite his increased madness, Bruce is all that stands in the way of Gotham's utter doom and embrace what can't be explained.
Doom. You return for your doom.
Nuts to you, you rank spud.
Yet again, WAG makes a movie that I am totally on board with. How much it makes sense is, honestly, the jury's still out on that one. But I had a lot of fun. So let's get this out of the way. Batman vs. Cthulhu. That's awesome. That is really awesome, and that's exactly what this feels like. Cthulhu has always been that character or entity in the Lovecraft lore that's not one that you necessarily see. Yeah, you do. There are descriptions of the monster after all, but it's more of its influence. It's more how it affects everything around it, rather than being an actual force that someone has to fight. That's never the point. And that's exactly what I love that's brought here. It's the effect that he has on everyone around him, including Batman, who is slowly going insane, which is saying quite a lot since he's a dude that dresses up as a bat.
Well, a guy dresses up like a bat clearly has issues.
And of course, it being set in the 1920s, where you're not exactly going to get the most gadget-heavy Batman, so he has to rely on his smarts. He has to rely on his science. Since his character is so reliant on science, it's hard for him to accept that all of this is supernatural. To see him legitimately go insane in this way is a whole lot of fun.
They surround you. The spirit wrapped in bats.
But this also kind of gives a weird little taste in your mouth because the opening 10 minutes are fantastic in that it's really disturbing. Bruce finds Cobblepot's expedition, all his men are dead, he's missing, he's naked somewhere in the Antarctic wilderness. It sets itself up to be more like a horror film.
The testament must be kept from them at all costs.
You get a lot of things that are played with. Since this is an Elseworlds story, everything is kind of topsy-turvy, including Batman's backstory. His parents are obviously murdered, and he eventually takes on the persona of Batman.
We have brought this curse upon us all!
In a lot of interpretations of Batman, usually when his parents die, there's not a direct link to him or any other villain that exists. You get some interpretations like the 89 Batman had Joker be the person that murdered his parents, and he never knew it. They don't know each other like that until much later in the story.
You killed my parents. What? Hey, bad brain. I mean, I was a kid when I killed your parents.
But most of the time, it's more like just the city. It was just a random guy that killed his parents. At least that's the interpretation that most people accept. Here, it's a little bit different. Without giving anything away, the person that killed Bruce's parents actually knew them. He was a psychotic person, but it's all linked to Cthulhu. And how all of this pays off in the end is honestly really, really messed up. But like I said, I can only say this so many times in this review in the best way possible.
And look at us three, together again. So, you gonna offer me a drink?
As for supporting characters, you get some new faces as well as familiar ones, such as Dick Grayson. There's no 1920s Robin or Nightwing, sadly, but then you have other characters that I'm definitely not familiar with, such as Kylie Kane. Is she supposed to be this version's Cassandra Kane or something? I'm totally confused on who this character is. As well as Sanjay Toddy, or whatever his name is. I definitely don't know this character, and I'd like to think that I am relatively aware of DC characters like this. But yeah, these ones totally escape me.
The tissue samples I took from him appear to be dead, but I'm sure there's a logical explanation. You know, Ace, you're starting to sound more like the big G's every day.
Other characters that make an appearance are Etrigan, who you might remember from the Justice League show. This is a wildly underutilized character because essentially all he does is show up to Batman and tell him basically the plot of the story in a very cryptic way. Like, oh yeah, I'm here to tell you that you have to sacrifice yourself to become what you are. It's like, wait, what? And then he also becomes a Deus Ex Machina, let's just put it that way too. He shows up to tell him what to do. He shows up to die, and then he shows up to come back. It's very strange.
My sacrifice is made so you might end this curse. Alas, it'd be for naught should the book remain hers.
Also, we get 1920s version of Oliver Queen, who is, well, a character, I'll tell you that much for free. I don't want it to sound like a bad thing. Actually, I really do like this version of Oliver Queen. He's a drunk, but he's like this really fanatically loyal friend to Bruce Wayne. And the way that all of these emotions pay off toward the end, I gotta tell you, he's probably the best character in the entire movie.
Mr. Wayne isn't one to hold a grudge against a good man. Come on, let's get some sleep.
Am I, though? A good man?
You also get an appearance from Harvey Dent, who obviously will go on to become Two-Face. How he becomes Two-Face, and what Two-Face is, will definitely be something I'm not spoiling right now, but dear God, I love this mishmash of Batman and Lovecraft. It is so... it gets under your skin.
Don't scratch it. It'll just get infected. Here, use this.
There are some subplots that get introduced, like, for example, anything involving Kirk Langstrom, whom, if you know from the comics, is Man-Bat. He's certainly referenced a lot in certain chunks of the story, but you don't actually see him. I mean, we later understand why.
The bats speak to me. They see beyond what man dare fathom.
And then we have the appearances of the Al Ghouls, both Talia and Raish. Well, Raish later on, but Talia being the more prominent character. Honestly, I feel like this could have been any character. It didn't have to be Talia. The whole point of having Talia in your story is to have, like, a huge romantic back and forth that's really complicated. But they don't do that here. This is the first time that they've ever met in this story.
Do not think your costume can frighten me, Bat. I am well acquainted with real matter of demon, jinn, and devil.
I think we also get an appearance from Killer Croc, though a Lovecraftian version. Honestly, the first time I watched this, I just thought he was a generic reptilian monster that was lifted straight from Lovecraft, or just inspired by him.
Can't be.
Another monster.
And I also gotta say, this is probably one of my favorite versions of Alfred. I mean, Alfred is always a great addition to the Batman mythos, no matter what he does. Even in the worst of adaptations, and we all know what we're talking about, Alfred is just a fun personality. And this is no exception.
Put Mr. Grendon in the meat freezer, Alfred.
I do so look forward to fetching this evening's roast. Where are you off to?
The cave. We have work to do.
It's a wine cellar, Master Bruce. We're not Neanderthals.
I absolutely love how the mystery and how the plot develops over time. Frankly, you really don't know how this story is going to end. Because it's supposed to be like an Elseworld story, it's not necessarily meant to be canon. The story really could go either way, that Batman could legitimately die. There are stakes involved. And a lot of superhero stories these days, especially live action Marvel, they don't really do that anymore. Once again, I have to reiterate, when you need a superhero story to have stakes, go to WAG. WAG knows what they're doing with their superheroes.
Finally!
The action is rock solid. Batman is constantly getting his ass kicked, but not in that way that makes you think that he's just a wuss. It's because that he's way out of his element. He's fighting forces that he legitimately does not understand. And part of his character arc is acknowledging that maybe he's not really supposed to understand this.
By becoming what you truly are, in coming to see me, you've accepted a world beyond reason and science.
I'm gonna wrap up this review because I am not comfortable talking without a script. All I'll say is, I really like this. Yeah, some things don't make sense, or some things are a little too silly, too contrived. It ain't perfect, but for what it is, it's still pretty friggin' cool. My honest rating for Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham, a 4 out of 5.
If you saw as I do, you'd take the insanity within these walls over the true madness out there.
Perhaps you're right.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.
Eat or drink, or just remember that it's later than you think. So be cool. Just relax. So be cool. Face facts.